Okay, let's take some pretty complex off-grid electrical data and transform it into clear, actionable insights. Today, we're tackling a very specific, high-stakes challenge that honestly trips up a ton of DIYers, and yeah, even a few professionals. We are looking at exactly how to size a 48-volt battery bank to power a high-load, 2-ton air conditioner for 4 straight hours. Now, running a massive appliance like that sounds simple enough on paper, right? You just go out and get a big battery. But in a 48-volt off-grid system, this exact scenario is widely misunderstood and, quite frankly, frequently underestimated. So we're going to break down exactly what it takes to do this right, engineering a solution that's based strictly on real-world numbers.
So, you might be wondering, why do these 48-volt systems silently fail in the first place? It is an incredibly frustrating scenario. You do the math, you spend the money on these heavy batteries, you wire the whole thing up, you flip the switch, and then, boom, nothing. Your battery bank just shuts down suddenly, and it's almost always right in the middle of the hottest part of the day when you literally need that AC the most. Why does this happen? Well, it's because relying on standard, back-of-the-napkin calculator math completely misses the mark. These systems don't fail because of capacity alone. They fail because of how energy demands, startup surges, and voltage collapse all violently interact with each other in real time.
All right, let's dive into this, because there is a stark contrast between what basic solar guides will often tell you versus the actual system-level energy reality that we actually need to build. You know, most guides out there rely heavily on what we'll call basic math. They take a fixed rule of thumb for the AC's wattage, do a simple kilowatt-hour to amp-hour conversion, and call it a day. They completely ignore startup surges and heat. But if we want to actually keep the lights on, we have to rely on real engineering. This means modeling the AC based on its average load and its true duty cycle. We have to explicitly calculate efficiency losses, and most importantly, absolutely crucial here, we have to build in serious safety headroom. We aren't just solving a math equation here, we are engineering a stable power environment.
Here's the absolute game changer, the point you really need to remember. A 2-ton AC does not run at 2-ton power continuously. We have to completely shift our paradigm away from static nameplate ratings. Modern 2-ton inverter air conditioners don't just blast at 100% power until they turn off. Think of it like driving a car. You don't keep the pedal floor to the metal for the entire road trip, right? You accelerate, you coast, you adjust to the traffic. Well, inverter ACs do the same thing. They modulate their compressor speed based on the temperature of the room, which means the electrical load is constantly varying. If we only look at the maximum cooling rating, our math is flawed from step one. We absolutely must model the AC as a dynamic, varying electrical load, because actual energy used over time is the only thing that matters.
Let's establish our baseline by looking at a realistic operating range over our 4-hour target runtime. Say it's a miler day and the AC is in a highly efficient operating state, it's drawing roughly 1.8 kilowatts of power. Over 4 hours, that results in a total energy demand of 7.2 kilowatt hours. But what if it's a brutal, absolutely sweltering afternoon and that AC is working much, much harder? Under that higher sustained load, it might pull 2.5 kilowatts, pushing our 4-hour energy demand to 10.0 kilowatt hours. So before we even think about buying batteries, we've nailed down our absolute baseline AC energy demand. It's somewhere between 7.2 and 10.0 kilowatt hours.
Now that we have our raw demand, let's walk through the core math. And listen, this next step is where so many DIYers make a critical error, converting to DC battery energy. Here is the reality check. Your inverter is not perfect. Every single watt your AC uses actually costs you more from the battery. The inverter acts sort of like a toll booth, right? It takes a mandatory tax of about 10% of your energy just to operate itself. So, assuming a typical 90% efficiency, our 7.2 kilowatt hours actually becomes 8.0 kilowatt hours of DC energy. And our heavy load of 10.0, that bumps up to 11.1 kilowatt hours. Finally, we take those watt hours and divide them by our 48-volt system. That math brings our raw battery requirement to a range somewhere between 167 amp hours and 231 amp hours.
But wait, if you went out and bought a 231 amp hour battery right now, you would still run into major problems. Why? Because of a hidden trap called depth of discharge, or DOD for short. Basically, this is the percentage of a battery's capacity that has actually been used up. For the wildly popular lithium iron phosphate, or LiFeFO4 chemistry, standard safe design dictates that we do not drain it completely dead. We cap it at 80% just to ensure a long battery life. Because we can only practically use 80% of the battery, we have to divide our raw amp hours by 0.8. When we apply this real-world correction, our practical minimum design range jumps up to between 210 amp hours and 290 amp hours.
Now, even with a 290 amp-hour bank, your system is still highly vulnerable. This is because of what we call the invisible system threats. These are those hidden, real-world factors that rapidly inflate your power needs way beyond what you just wrote down on your scratchpad. First up, compressor surge dips. These can momentarily exceed the inverter rating and just aggressively pull down the battery voltage. Second, when you're running a heavy load for 4 straight hours, your inverter gets hot and it actually suffers from thermal derating, meaning it loses even more efficiency. Third, you've got wiring losses from pushing sustained high amperage through your cables. And finally, you have the built-in safety margins of your battery's own battery management system, the BMS, which acts kind of like an overprotective parent and might just decide to cut power prematurely to save itself.
So when we put it all together, after factoring in the average load, the inverter tax, the depth of discharge limits, and all of those critical invisible system threats, what is the final true battery size you actually require for a stable field design? It's 350 amp hours. Yep, to guarantee your 48-volt system survives powering a 2-ton AC without shutting down in the blazing heat of the day, you actually need a bank ranging from 250 amp hours up to a robust 350 amp hours. If your battery bank only matches that basic calculator number without building in the system margin, I promise you the whole setup will instantly fail when the voltage collapses under a heavy load. This whole process perfectly illustrates why we aren't just solving a math problem here. We are solving a severe thermal and protection system problem. When you pull enough power to run a 2-ton AC, your DC current can easily exceed 80 to 120 amps continuously. At those extreme levels, your bus bars are heavily stressed. Even a slightly loose terminal becomes a dangerous heat source that can literally melt components. Undersized cables might not fail on day one, sure, but they will degrade silently over time. And if your bank is undersized, that high draw causes a rapid voltage collapse, which throws your inverter into a frantic repeating shutdown loop. Hardware can and will quite literally fail mid-operation.
I want to wrap up this explainer with a highly actionable rule to keep in your back pocket. If your system keeps shutting down during an AC load, it's usually not just battery size. It's voltage sag plus surge plus BMS protection all working together against you. You must always design with headroom, not just calculator minimums. Now, quick but very serious reminder before we go. Electrical work is inherently dangerous, and the information we've covered today is strictly for educational purposes. Always consult a qualified professional when you're building these high-load systems. But armed with the knowledge of how real system energy actually works, you're no longer in the dark. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on for your next build. Are you just calculating numbers, or are you actually engineering for reality?